Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hayes, Director Hayes, you're the permanent director now, are you not?
Yes, sir, Congressman, I am.
And when did you become the permanent director?
March 3rd.
And you became the temporary director after the previous director he resigned?
He transferred to a different department or division within the Department of Health and Human Services. That was late November of last year, sir.
And when did you come to the department?
Came to the department in mid-June of 2018.
And before that, what was the largest number of people you had ever administered as a administrator?
As a supervision, it would be here on the Hill, sir. Congressional
What was
staff.
that job? What was that job that you had before you went over there?
I was the chief of staff.
Chief of staff for a congressperson. Was that Ms. Lesko?
No, sir.
Who were you the chief of staff?
Prior, I was chief of staff to Congressman Trent Franks and Congressman Steve Sutherland.
Steve Sutherland, remind me who he is.
He's from the Florida Panhandle, sir.
Florida Panhandle. Okay. That's not the, okay. Thank you, sir. So
You're welcome, sir.
This department needs somebody who has experience in running major agencies, who has experience and not political background. And I'm afraid that's part of the problem we have. But Congressman Escobar knows so much more about this subject. She's on the front lines. I want to yield my time to her and appreciate, I yield.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Just for the record, El Paso, Texas in 2017 was the testing ground for family separation. And so, unfortunately, I think that there are far more children who had been ripped from the arms of their parents than Americans even begin to realize. I think the numbers are much higher. I think we, as a country, have damaged an entire generation of Central American children. And this abhorrent policy, unfortunately, continues to this day. Chief Hastings, you mentioned that family separation is a rare occurrence. You were referring to separation between a biological parent and a biological child. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
So to many of us, a family actually is a much broader definition than a biological parent and a biological child. To many of us, family is a grandparent, a grandchild, an aunt or uncle, and a niece or nephew, siblings, etc. Chief, and actually before I begin my questioning, I feel like I have to say I do not believe that Border Patrol agents are bad. Chief, you and I were in a meeting where I expressed my gratitude to the many really great agents who are working hard and are overwhelmed, but there is no doubt that there are some really bad agents as well, and it's important that we root out those who dehumanize migrants so that those who don't feel that way don't feel despondent. But isn't it true, Chief, that we are still separating families today, children who are taken from the grandmother who is separated from a grandchild, for example? Isn't that still occurring?
So we are following the definition by TVPRA, and the definition is a parent or legal guardian.
So a grandmother who enters with a grandchild, they are being separated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that child then becomes an unaccompanied minor. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, you said in your testimony that, quote, our laws also prohibit the removal of individuals to countries where they face a likelihood of torture. But we know that people are being forced into Mexico even when they have a credible fear of being there, and they have expressed it to Border Patrol, but Border Patrol is forcing them anyway, and at that point in what is a violation of both Section 241b3 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, as well as the principle of non-refoulement under international law. In my district, in El Paso, we know that over 11,000 people, many of them families, are waiting in Mexico for their asylum hearings. We know of a specific case, for example, where two young families were returned to Ciudad Juarez, and while running errands, their fathers were kidnapped, beaten, and then released. These families had to fight hard not to be returned. Chief Hastings, why is Border Patrol violating U.S. and international law by forcing people to wait in Mexico when they have expressed a credible fear of residing there, or they have in fact experienced kidnapping, rape, or other violence?
So, ma'am, are you referring to MPP, or are you?
Yes.
Okay, so with MPP,
Time of
if,
the gentlelady has expired. Who's next? Yeah, the witness can answer the question, I'm sorry.
with MPP, if the subjects do claim fear, we take them to CIS. CIS will determine if there's fear. If there's fear determined, then they'll go through the asylum case. If they don't claim fear, they will be returned to Mexico under the Mexican Protection Program, MPP.
And just for the record, we have innumerable examples in El Paso, Texas, where they have claimed fear and they've been returned anyway.